Hey, how's it going? Yeah, no, yeah, good to see you guys too, and appreciate you guys letting me be on the podcast. So yeah, it's been a blast working with you guys, and also just as friends, and also coworkers and ex-coworkers, whatever. So yeah, I'm actually here in Iceland right now. So there's a Starbucks across the street, but we're in an Airbnb right now, and getting mooshing off their Wi-Fi. So yeah, no, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm glad to be on the show. Yeah, right now I'm in Reykjavik in Iceland. Um, just came back from a really cool short hike, and yeah, just right now I'm in Reykjavik. 2 days from now I'll be in Stockholm, and then I don't know where I'm gonna go after that, but maybe a little further east. We'll see. Just traveling. No, I like to keep things loose so I can kind of play it by ear and kind of go with the flow. Could change my mind. So sometimes it depends. If I'm traveling kind of with other people who are more rigid, I'm fine with having a set schedule and be a lot more rigid. But this time around, I was kind of like, where do I want to go? I have some time. I'm trying to take off about 3 weeks to a month every 6 months of work, and travel somewhere new. So I really realized just, early on, especially early out of college, I was purely like, okay, I'm going to work on this nonstop, 24 hours a day. Just I might take time to eat and come back to the computer if I was doing something like computer art. And I got to the point where I would just work myself till I just couldn't work anymore. And I realized for me, creativity comes in waves. And I think it's for a lot of people, right? And I think just in general, a lot of things happen in these like waves. So you might be deep into a project, and then you're maybe not getting these kind of breakthroughs that you get just by letting your brain kind of wonder and free associate. And I felt like going on vacation or somewhere new or somewhere that inspires me is the best thing for me. That and like music and just discovering new things lets me kind of then make new associations, and also just makes me way more creative, and it brings me back up top on the crest of that wave. And so yeah, so traveling to me is just really, I grew up traveling, and I think just studying about different cultures and different places, and it really helps me kind of brings back the creative juices, I guess, right? And keeps me creative.
You hear that, game industry? More vacation time. That's
Definitely.
man. And
Definitely.
so one thing I actually did want to touch on is you say you get a lot of creative inspiration whenever you travel or when you go these new places, and it allows you to have your own breakthroughs or unlock things. But I would like to touch on a very personal experience too. All three of us, we all worked on Call of Duty together, Advanced Warfare, and there's a level I remember called Lagos, and
Oh yes,
I mean,
yes.
obviously that level is very near and dear to your heart, and I know you go back home, when you can. But like, can you tell me about what that must have been like to build home, in a next gen AAA video game? Like that must have been really cool.
Yeah, that was an amazing experience. Just because also it was a surprise. There,
Mm.
starting that project, I had no idea that Lagos was going to be one of the
Oh,
levels that
I'm
we
sorry I
were
said
going
it
to.
wrong.
Oh, that's fine. Everyone says it wrong. They even say it wrong in the game,
Hmm.
and I pointed that out, but it was too late. We had to ship. Uh, but
Kanji looked at you. It's too late. We
yeah,
just got out of the brainstorming session.
so,
It's too
a
late.
KS, non shippable.
Yeah.
So yeah, so just working on that project was a joy. It was a great surprise, and I even got to do a lot of the voice acting for the placeholder kind of Lagosian voices, or
Mm.
just all the different characters, and I got to do some Pigeon English. And also, if you play the game, there's a lot of posters with like my friends and family's names on it as like politicians,
Oh,
and
you
just
motherfucker! I tried to do some shit
really
like
cool
that.
stuff.
I tried to do some shit like that, but they yanked it out. They yanked it out.
Yeah, but it was near and dear to me, and I really was so into that level and so into getting details right. Where I what I really wanted was, if someone from Lagos played that game, they would feel like, oh, this is authentic,
Yeah.
right? This has a feel to it that not anyone who's just emulating this from Google Street Maps
Hmm.
can reproduce, right? And actually that's what happened. Like, if you go online and look, there's some people from Lagos who were playing Call of Duty and said, oh, these people got this right. and
Damn.
and I love that.
That's got to be a good feeling. And I think
Yeah,
more
it's
game
great.
developers, just studios in general, should take advantage of like authenticity. It means something to people.
Yeah, there's a little graffiti on the wall. A lot of games, they just have random graffiti, like on their walls, just some random textures. But there's this message that's actually very specific to Lagos, and this code called 419, which is kind of the Nigerian email scam. Like it's called 419, but which just means that this a scam pretty much. It's the kind of code for that that law. And on the walls, what happens if you leave for vacation? Or this used to happen in Lagos. You would leave for vacation, and someone would rent out your home. And so on the walls, it would say, "Oh, this house is not for rent. Beware of 419." And so just that little like tag on the wall let people who actually have lived there like know that, oh wow, this is not something that you can just kind of guess, right? It's someone who has lived there. So stuff like that I really enjoyed. But then there's also stuff where I kind of called out that this isn't how they would say this, or this isn't what they would do. But you had to make a AAA blockbuster, so I just had to kind of say, okay, we're making a fictitious kind of game in this real place that I grew up in. So, but it was really cool. I had a lot of freedom of, hey, let's add this place that I grew up into the level. Like it was great experience.
And so, next question from me before we open the floodgates for everyone, because also Twitch can see this live, so there might be some live questions that you have to answer from the Twitch audience, and that's another encouragement for the Twitch audience to ask questions. Tav, you then left the game industry, like altogether. I think after Sledgehammer, I saw that you were helping with autopilot robots and car tech for self-driving, and really exploring these diverse areas where your expertise was like highly valuable and sought after. What was that transition like, to know that you've been spending so much time down a career path to then either make a lateral or jump, into a completely different career field? Tell us about that, because I bet there's a lot of people who have transferable skills but feel like they're tied to the status quo of where they are in their job, and they don't think that there's side opportunity or different opportunities that might be better when they're currently doing.
No, exactly. That's a good point. And funny thing is, like, I worked on Dead Space a long time ago at EA, and after that, I decided to leave EA and just kind of drive to the East Coast and just quit. I quit my job and wanted to start my own thing, and that's when I first started doing apps. It was around 2008, and that opened my eyes to, oh my gosh, I have the immediate connection to the rest of the world, as far as like I can release a product on this platform that's new, which at the time, which was an iPhone or the App Store, and anyone around the world can give me pay for my product if they like it. And so from that point, I was like, you know what? I felt really free, and I was like, I could do anything. And so worked on a lot of stuff and kind of got my creative fill in, and I was like, okay. And then I moved to Germany and worked at Crytek for a while, because as a video game artist, I always wanted to work at Crytek because their art team was amazing, and worked there, and it was amazing. Came back, and then after Call of Duty, decided to take another hiatus, another break, and figure out what I wanted to do. And at that point, I was just working on art and working on whatever I felt like working on, and made the leap to Zooks, which was really this interesting kind of just chance that happened. Like I was out at this club actually, and ended up talking to somebody, which is so funny. I was on the dance floor and
with your business card.
No, but it was so we became really good friends with this person, and I was just, at the time, I didn't have a job. I would just go home and work on art. And I was working on my website, just working on Unreal stuff, Unreal Engine stuff and art. And she asked me what I was working on one day, and I said, oh, my website. And I sent her my website, which is tavshande.com. And she checked it out, and she said, oh, can I send this to my boss? And her boss was actually working at Zoox, which is a stealth robotics startup that's tackling, it's where I currently work, but it's tackling automation and self-driving cars and building their own car from the ground up. And so they asked me to come in and talk with them, and I talked with them, and right away I was like, wow, I was wondering what would a self-driving car startup want with a environment artist at the time. I was, mostly making environment art and props. And I came in, and then right away I saw, oh, wow, they really need people with my skill set, or people who have real-time engine support or real-time art experience to come in and work on simulation. And that's kind of where I broke into this new industry, which is automation and self-driving cars.
Man, that's crazy. What song was playing when that magic moment happened? Do you remember it that well? It was T-Pain, Buy You a Drink, and I just, dancing and grooving. And no, just kidding.
I do not remember, but it's quite possibly a T-Pain song that was playing at the time.
Yeah. What's great is that the booming industry is never really, you find it on the Craigslist, right? It's opportunities, like you said, that is outside of, because on their side, they're having trouble finding basically Unreal developers or knowing where to look. They're so disconnected. Exactly. They've been making fun of us for the last 20 years. And now that we caught up graphic wise and processing wise, they're interested, and they're just so far removed from that connection. It's like, where do we talk to these geeks?
No, it's very true, and it's interesting coming from a gaming background and going into where the gaming industry has like disciplines that are split into, say, artists, engineers, like level designers, and everyone's kind of creative and understands that creative process. Even the engineers and understand at the end of the day, it's this visual kind of thing you can control, and it needs to happen in real time. And then you go up to this industry where real time, they're like, oh, why can't we run like 100 cameras at once and have 100 copies of Unreal running in one instance, and it run at 60 frames a second, right? And trying to figure out how to get that done, or just work within the limits of real time is something that I don't think anyone in that field is really used to. Yeah. In simulation, you can just say, oh, let me crunch it through this large machine and with lots of processors, and we'll run all these algorithms and all this. Yeah. So for a week, and then come out with this answer. But it's very interesting, and it's an amazing challenge to try to get this running in real time and having all the sensors simulated in real time.
It's like completely back to basics with like a lot of these enterprise people. It's like, what the fuck is a neural map? It's like, okay. And it's very interesting. It's great that you're at the apex. See what I did there? Of these industries colliding, because it is it's best for developers. It's best for all industries to kind of get on the same tool set, which is what I'm seeing with the merging. And you're at the
great
forefront
for artists
of
and engineers.
Yeah, man. If I want to go work over there, over here, and now I have a choice.
Yeah, I'll still be in games.
Yeah. Many people don't know. So
a lot of people don't know.
Many people are like, oh, what would I do at that company? And really, all the disciplines that are in the game industry would transfer over
perfectly.
Easily. Perfectly. And probably get paid like 3 times
way more and way more stable. Yeah. So usually what we do is like, shut up, sheep, and then you walk away, and we gather all these like resources from these jobs ourselves. But a lot of people, in the industry don't know about these opportunities. A lot, man.
Silicon Valley isn't because of game development. So like Tav saying the 3 times salary, like there's a lot of weight to that, right? Yeah. We aren't the reason why housing is going up by X amount. It's
the model needs to evolve.
It's that sector.
Yeah, everyone has like a Steam 100X type of model where they don't have to rely on the particular experiment that you're working on to be successful. So that's great, man. Like that's huge and exciting, and I'm sure like the hours are a lot more flexible. The perks are like 100 times as much. But what I'm always been interested in is this, kind of going back to the beginning, is that what I've noticed with my friends and people around our age group that have a consistent traveling schedule. Like every December, every March, it is like a scheduled in type of mentality.
Planned.
Yes, and you being able to, and this is not just particular to this job, right? You've been always doing that since whenever you decided. Like, how were you able to? Was it mostly just telling employers ahead of time? Like, how do you work that? Is it self-commitment? Obviously, it's just, how do you keep that up where you're like, hey, I'm traveling every year, no matter what, I'm good. I'm going to plan for it. I'm going to do it. Is it a lot of it's just commitment to it? Because that's the scary part for a lot. Yeah.
No, a lot of it is commitment and keeping that promise to yourself to not just do the easy thing and say, oh, I'm just going to stay at work and keep working and not, because that's honestly, it's easier to just do that and not have to plan or spend a lot of money to like get hotels and do all that stuff. It's actually easier just to keep working and you're doing everything you're doing. But me personally, I know that I'll hit a point where, and I could easily just work through the whole year and not take any vacation because I usually go home and work on new stuff at home. So that's my kind of mini break. I always kind of separate kind of work and my home projects. But for me, like just working on my own home projects is in a way a vacation to me because I'm so obsessed with just like learning and kind of trying new things and creating out art projects. But I do know if I don't take vacation that it'll be detrimental and I'll end up burning myself out like really fast. So what I do is I just realized that like I have an agreement with whatever company has hired me to bring value to their company. And that's what it's about. It's not about like, oh, you need to have your butt in the seat for this long. And as long as you've had your butt in the seat for 8 hours a day, it doesn't matter like what you do. If I bring value to the company and bring great content and finish my work and do more and like kind of push them ahead, it's okay for you to take a mental break or a day off or just recharge by going out and checking out or just taking time off. Time off is super important, like especially in a creative field. You're trying to figure out problems that have never been solved before. So sometimes you just need to take yourself out of that situation, and then your brain one day when you're in Helsinki or wherever, like you're thinking, oh wow, now this makes sense, and let me take this back to solving this problem that I couldn't figure out the answer to before. So for me personally, it was just recently last year where I started saying every 6 months I would take a month off. Because where I work now, we have unlimited vacation, which is
sweet. It's hard amazing to come back from that, dude.
Yeah. So, but as long as you're getting your work done, and you don't want to try to say, oh, I'm going to take off like 6 months and then only work for 6 months because they're paying you to actually do something. There. So consistent. But no, just keeping it like this time around. I didn't know where I wanted to go until the day after I actually was on break. But I just said I'm going to leave anyway and take my break because if I don't, I'll just keep working. So just making sure you take that time off is super important.
Is this something that you read or advice from friends? Is this something that through practice you just were able to build a system that works for you? Like, how did you get into this time of thinking and it obviously works for you?
It really just, I'm pretty sure it's different for every person. This is just kind of what works for me is I realize if I work for a whole year and then I take time off during Christmas time, which I usually do, maybe to visit family, that was kind of my schedule before where I had maybe 10 days of vacation a year, maybe a little more. Or if we ship a game, maybe we'll have like a month off sometimes. But I'll usually wait till the end of the year. It's snowy, cold, and it's winter time. And I'm like, oh, like I kind of miss having summers, when you're in school and you have summer vacation, like it's awesome. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give myself a summer vacation as well. And it works for me that I have that mid-year kind of break and then I can work for 6 more months. And it's just a good cadence for me. So that's why I chose that 6-month marker.
Man. So can you tell me about your first time where you're like, all right, I'm doing this and the first trip is going to be, Germany or wherever you decided to go, planning for it, looking forward to it. did you go by yourself? Did you go with a friend? Like, let's talk about that first one, because on this podcast, there's going to be a lot of people who love what you're talking about and are going to want that and are going to start preparing to do it themselves and then like make their first journey. So if you have like maybe 5 minutes to go over like where your mind was and what things you learned or what things that would help somebody like who wants to follow suit to like, all right, here's how I planned it out. Here's what I did. I saved a little, or I did this and used a travel agency, or, you know, I guess what tips would you have for somebody trying to follow your footsteps? Specifically speaking, me, right? Like, how do I do the Tav twice a year vacation model?
Oh yeah. So yeah, no, it's so funny because I've been traveling for so long that it's almost automatic to me that, but what I have done is I've kind of inserted new kind of goals for myself and traveling as I've traveled. So the first time around when I kind of started doing this vacation planning or something was like I decided every time I travel, or first it started out every year I would try to go somewhere that I've never gone before. and then also within that trip, if it's kind of like a month long or 3 weeks long, I would say, okay, I would spend a week in a place I don't know, or maybe even more, and then go somewhere that I love or that's really familiar to me. So I can kind of, you know, it's kind of like a wave, right? You're like, oh, in this place you don't know, and now you're in this place you're super comfortable with. Or you could find friends that you're really cool with, and then no matter where you are when you're with those friends, right, it feels like you're comfortable and you're at home anyway. So I do sometimes like to see if I can travel with friends, because that just makes everything a lot more enjoyable. You guys can share experiences. And also, if you have friends that live in these places, like I have a lot of friends in Europe because I used to work in Europe, and also I've kind of traveled here a lot. So I would say, oh, hey, is this a good time for me to come by? And would come by. I'd get usually, I have this app that I love called Hotel Tonight, which is I can book a hotel instantly without having to worry about planning way ahead of time, and I get discounts and all this stuff. So that app I've used. I went to Croatia, or no, this was actually before. Like I went to Prague and used that app when I landed and said, oh, I need a hotel now. Let me look, and got a hotel in like 30 seconds. And it was amazing. Went there. It was great. The check-in was great. And so no matter where I am, even if it's if it's a place I don't know, I'll usually check to see what's available on that app. And so then I know I have a place to stay. And also with airplane deals, I'll just use Google Flights and check out what the best deal is. And then I'll check the actual website of the airline to see if maybe there's a better deal. Because there's a really great deal for Iceland Air where you can fly to Europe and get a free layover in Iceland for up to 7 days. So that's a cool thing they do during the summers. But yeah, that first time around, I went to Prague, Paris. And Prague was the place I had never been, and I ended up loving it. Probably one of my favorite places on earth. Second favorite, besides probably like Paris and Hawaii or whatever. So like, I went there, and then I ended up in Stockholm because I really love Stockholm. And then, yeah, travel around. I think the second time around, I had never been to Hawaii, which I lived so close to it when we were in California, so decided to go there. But yeah, just they're all kind of running together now because I'm thinking about which trip was where. Prague was probably the first time I started saying, okay, one place I've never been, followed by places that I have friends or I'm really comfortable in.
One thing I'd be afraid of, not afraid, but just I would know is a difficulty is like you're going to places where a lot of people may or may not speak English. I speak 2 languages. So if I'm going to anywhere that speaks Spanish, I'm good. Prague, France, you know what I mean? Like if I fell into a room full of French people, I would hope someone spoke English. Obviously, there's a lot of people there that speak English. But what about some of these places? I mean, like Prague, you know, or any of the cultures where you said you were completely an outsider, completely foreign to you. What was it like getting over the language barriers, or, you know, just, I guess, what advice do you have for somebody who's like, I would love to go to Japan. I don't know how English accessible it is. I'm afraid. Even if it is, right? They just don't know. Like, is there any opportunity that we can help people listening right now to still go be unfamiliar in an unfamiliar place? You'll love it, you know?
Yeah, no, it's It's amazing. So the first time I moved to Germany to work at Crytek, and the first time I stepped outside my house, I realized I didn't know any German. I didn't even know what the signs said, and I didn't know how to get back to my place. So it was actually quite interesting, because then you start realizing, oh, all this stuff I've been kind of taking advantage of, or, like taking for granted, that I can read English signs. Now I have to look at landmarks and places to kind of navigate back to where I'm going. But now technology is moving so fast that they have a device that'll translate in real time, like what you're saying to somebody else, right? So
cheat codes.
It's almost like cheating, right? It's like you really, if you're really worried about communicating with someone else, technology now it's so far advanced, even in the last 5 years, that you don't really ever have to worry about that. And on top of that, it's amazing, I noticed, how people can still communicate with each other even if they don't know what they're saying verbally. Like body language, pointing, gesturing, like you'll get your point across if you really need to, like, oh, where's the bathroom, right? Or just, but there's always usually someone who speaks English, or wherever a lot of kind of American travelers go, there's usually always signs in every international airport that are English. And if you're stuck in a place that definitely only speaks a language that is not your own, then you can definitely rely on technology to help, like whether it's apps that here are the most used phrases, or here's the words you need to learn. I have some apps on my phone that are just strictly for, how do you say excuse me, right? Like, or stuff like certain things that are important in your day-to-day kind of experience.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, like it sounds like you do a lot of this traveling by yourself mostly, because it's the most flexibility. And though you do pepper in a friend or two, do you ever worry about going to travel with someone that you know as well? Because obviously if you go with a partner, a girl, it's like the ultimate test, right? Can I handle, if you're not living together, is like, can I handle this person 24/7? A friend, I think, is a lot easier, especially if you've been friends for a long time. You're a lot more flexible and cool with each other.
Yeah.
But then the stranger is kind of like a mix of the two, I feel like, right? It's like, holy shit, this guy's an asshole, this girl's an asshole. I got 5 months with this person.
I would have to start a blog.
I could start a blog,
Oh my gosh, yeah. So in my traveling experiences, I've traveled with friends, people I've never traveled with, girlfriends, and it is always a test of, how well do you get along with this person in situations that are unplanned, and how well does that other person or you with handling stress and chaos or unplanned events. Some people just need everything planned out.
Yes.
I'm not that way. I'm very flexible. I can go with planned, or I can go with strictly unplanned. I look forward to things being a little bit chaotic, just because I just feel that's kind of like how life is, right? Like I feel more alive when things aren't strictly rigid.
Yeah.
But I've traveled with people who just strictly need a plan, and we probably didn't get along that well, but I gave them space, ended up getting my own hotel, and they ended up getting their own like hotel or Airbnb. And you can also do things where you don't always have to spend every hour with each other.
Right.
You can get a hotel right around the corner and say, oh, meet up with me at this breakfast place, and you give each other some space while you're traveling if you need that. And that helps a lot.
The proposals all come from Tav. It's like, I think we need to spend some time during the day apart.
Tav starts saying stuff like, where's your hotel?
Hey, where's your hotel? I'm going to stay at this hotel. Where are you going to stay? He's like, what do you mean? I think this is good for both of us.
You have Uber, right? Uber? Okay.
Yeah.
You're good?
No, I definitely can relate to this. I mean, I don't travel much. I'm probably the least travel person that both of you guys ever met, which is I'm so jealous when I see friends like you, Tav, like that have a consistent schedule to traveling, where every 6 months I'm like, this guy or gal is going somewhere, because that's how they plan their life, right? And it is a problem for me to make that commitment, because honestly I just need to really make the commitment. But I have an experience like yours where, I used to carpool to LA with a coworker because he lived like a block away from the street. And it was literally after a week of meeting, because we started at the same time. He lived a block away. We're going to the same place. It was perfect. It made total sense.
In theory.
And so after like upon meeting him like once, we started to carpool the week after. Oh man, it was like a TV show, dude. It was like the opposite dude. And I pride myself getting along with most people. Like I can gel with most people just fine. But this person, it was a second marriage at that point. The habits, we would get up super early. We were spending so much time together. And it was just like, it was hilarious at first to see the quirks. You know how a new couple emerges. Like, oh, he has this annoying thing, but it's fun. Then it becomes really annoying, right?
Yeah.
And it was just 5 straight months. I survived 5 straight months. And it was like the Tav approach. I was like, hey, man, I think we should ride the train. I'm going to start riding the train. And he's like, why? That's going to take twice as long. Yeah, but I'm willing to do that. Because, I want to save some money. And it's like, you know what? I can pay for gas. It's like, well, it's not that. I just don't want to. There's so much traffic to LA. There's too much danger that we have no control over. I think it's just safer to go to the train. And I was all right, I guess I'll go with you. I was like, I wasn't even selling it to him, right? And he tried the train, and it was just.
I mean,
well, you guys jumped in.
I don't want to. I don't want to say. Larry knows this guy, but like, he's just like. I hate to say it like this, but just picture the typical white guy, right? And we're in the train, and I remember the first day when we were in.
That's why he tried so
the
hard
LA
to
train.
avoid the train.
He was hugging his backpack, and just like completely scared shitless, and I was just like dead asleep. And after that first day, right when we landed at work, and everybody's like, "Hey, how was your first train ride, man?" I was like, "Oh, that was rough." Like I didn't want to touch anything. I had to keep my eyes open. But I successfully got rid of that in a nice way. And it was just, so I can't imagine committing to like a 5 or a month trip with someone that you barely kind of know, and you just end up just not liking each other, which is probably most of the case, right? Just the annoyances just pop up as soon as you start sleeping next to each other and all that stuff. It's just all the shit. You can't hide behind makeup or other things.
I totally have had an experience like that where it was so extreme that at one point I started a blog just as this kind of therapy for me to cope with what was going on. I just was in disbelief, and I was just like, I have to write this stuff down. And it helped. I remember like coming back from traveling all day. It was maybe like 3 a.m. and I stayed up till 6 a.m. just typing a blog post just to get it all off my chest, right?
Tav,
and
I have to tell you,
it's commendable, man.
I have to tell you, man, that was like, I've never been like binge watching a blog. I read every single post.
Man, we would have bought you GoPros. I wished. Because it's
God.
like before it even happened, we know these guys personally, right?
Yeah.
Like I saw red flags all over the place. I was like, oh my God. Like it was insane that you took up the challenge.
Bro, oh man, Tav, you took one for the team, man. Because we like all get, there's a new post. Everyone gathers together, read the details. Oh man, comedy.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, I'm a pretty laid back
right
guy.
That's what I mean.
But he tested my limit.
That's what I mean, man. It's like, it's crazy. I think the laid back people really bring out the extreme, because I consider myself, we're all pretty laid back. And Larry, if anyone, is like, he talks to anybody willing to talk to him.
I've got a pretty good, like...
Yeah, he has a stress
threshold.
test.
I have a great threshold.
You have a mental, strength.
I can endure.
To endure, to people.
Yeah.
And so if it takes a person to drive him up the wall, that is a special case scenario, which I think we all individually have in our mind, like that one person, which makes me even think is like, holy crap, I'm dealing with a sociopath.
But I mean, on the flip side, we could also be that person to another person, right?
Too laid back.
Just people click differently.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, for example, Brandon might be like, "Hey, let's all go for a run. Let's go to the gym." Man, I'm not going to no gym. Like, if
I'm not gonna annoy you though.
No, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like, that's
yeah.
not an insult. It's just if there's like a difference in.
I think that here's where I will deflect what you guys are saying. Right? There are social cues that we pick up on when we're starting to annoy people, and you just back off.
Yeah.
I think with these people, they just like pile it on, and it's
The
just
people
a
that
one-sided
don't know those
conversation.
cues, they make it difficult. But I'll agree.
I mean, well, I think a lot of people like think, oh, this is what I feel is right for me, so they'll stick to their guns, and that's what they want to do, and that's what they feel comfortable doing. And so if they need to change that, it's really hard. Yeah. And it's kind of like if I was hanging out with someone who wanted to plan every second of the day.
Oh man.
I just wouldn't hang around that. Yeah. But to their eye, it would be like, oh, we're getting the maximum use of our time and all that stuff. And I can kind of the goal is why I feel like I was able to kind of take multiple vacations with this person was because and it's how I am with everyone is I always try to see it through their eyes or their brain, like try to understand what it is that's making them respond that way or act that way and think that way, right?
Control freak.
If I can understand like what's causing them to kind of act the way they are or do what they're doing, then I can be a little bit more empathetic towards them, and I can say, okay, we can agree to disagree, and I'll just back off because that's you believe that and you want to do that. That's fine, but I'm not going to be a part of it. But there are also times when I just cannot understand what would cause somebody to do something like that, and I would have to blog about it.
The double take. It's just like.
Bro,
and you in there is like,
what's even more funny is like the blog wasn't even like insulting.
No,
it was just observations. Yeah. It's like these are facts,
yeah.
right? And then here's just a list of facts. These are things that happened today. He didn't take a stance.
What's that person in court that like takes it?
The stenographer.
Yeah, stenographer. Yeah, that was pretty much the approach. I'm just gonna write what I'm observing. And
6 a.m.
And just the facts was hilarious. Like Tav wasn't putting anybody down. So just for all awareness, if ever the person ever sees this, he never insulted or put anybody down.
No, it was just the habits.
Like, I saw someone do this. Yeah. I heard someone say this. I saw someone touch this. Yeah. I saw her leave the oh man.
But it also is great to kind of see, especially it is like a casual friend. That you're used to seeing in like an environment. It's nice to kind of see how other people have no context or harmless this person is react to the absurdities, right? And that is a show upon itself. It's like, whoa. If I didn't hang out with this guy, this is fucking Ted Bundy, dude. I'm fucking hanging with Ted Bundy.
The whole approach of the blog was the whole title of the blog was I'm going to replace their name with friend. But it was called Damn It Friend Why. That was the name of the blog, and it was just going from the approach of why did you decide to do this? Why? Because I do want to understand because I find human behavior pretty fascinating.
Oh yeah.
So I just wanted to know why. And then that was the blog. Was like, this is my observations, and I just wondered why. But yeah, so. Traveling with a total stranger can result in something like that, or it could result in a really great friendship. But I do think it's also good to put yourself out there because you never know how much you'll enjoy or what you'll experience.
Exactly,
good or bad. It's still growth. You're growing as a person doing it.
We got Boss Geekery kind of chiming in saying some folks do not know how to pay attention to social cues and sips the tea. That is true, 100%. And
no, that's true. That's very true.
It sucks to have to be obvious because they don't know, they feel like everything was cool, and then all of a sudden Tav started yelling at me, not knowing that for like 2 hours straight.
Well, this is what I see.
I gotta go.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I gotta go.
Exactly.
I don't have time.
It fast forwards. I think traveling helps fast forward relationships and life, man. Like this is where I'm very lacking because I don't travel much, but I have to learn through books and at the workplace. But like I imagine traveling enables you to people watch a lot better, to kind of get a global view of how people react to their environments, cultures, and everything else, right? So it's with that perspective and going back to your workplace, like I think a lot of people, I would say 99% of people, you're upon like the 1% that actually travels around, are so used to their bubble, where I think that's where the argument is. It's just like I'm because nobody sees himself, and I tell Larry all, no one sees himself, not to him specifically, but about this, like no one sees himself as ever the bad guy, right? They're always right in their own way. And even us, like saying that, you know, we have a better perspective, it's our own way of saying that we're right too. But imagine the whole world who 99% of the time just go to work, go back home, and repeat the next day for most of their lives. How are we going to evolve as a species, or for the human race, if we're just constantly just surrounding ourselves with likeness and people who think the same, right? So
I mean, it doesn't allow for a lot of growth if you're just stuck in the same bubble and the same rut, same routine. You're just pretty much doing the same thing over until you die. And I'm just like, this sounds so sad to me. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with if you're just like, you love your work, but I feel like you can love your work and also step away from it and grow more as a human being. Because after all, I do think working for any company is not the primary goal, I feel, of life, right? It's just like, that's not life. That's working, which is sure part of it, part of making money, part of kind of, you know, you need that to kind of live. But the whole point of, like, for me, I questioned my kind of commitment to a company that really doesn't care that much about me. I've worked at companies that are just like, hey, you're a number, just you're a cog in this big machine and we can replace you easily, right? So
like when they look at me and like, hey, Tav, okay, so your character, we need you to be.
We'll call you tab number 1 and 2 from now on.
We experienced that quite a bit. But,
let me ask you that. I mean, obviously there's American, just, it's more geared towards work all the time. Don't travel as much. You go to other cultures, experience different things. And I hear Europe is more encouraging with the life-work balance thing, right? Am I correct in this?
Yes. When I lived there, I realized I really liked their method of just enjoying life and realizing work isn't life. They have a whole cafe culture in where I was living was Frankfurt, and just in Paris too, where it's just like, you know, and even Swedish, they have a word in Swedish just for that time that you spend outside work with friends, and kind of expanding your life and that circle, right? Like it's super important. But in the United States, it's a little less, especially in Silicon Valley. It's just, hey, work. I
would love if we had some of that, right? Like, and this is a very general statement that is not based on fact. This is just my impression or my feelings. But like, if I looked at a healthcare system, you have like a 2 to 2.5, 3 hour period each day where people are just encouraged to share, laugh, and be joyful and enjoy themselves, de-stress, see new things, smell flowers, go on a quick date, kiss their husband or wife, kiss the babies, then go back to work for 4 more hours and then end the day. You know what I mean? You're encouraged to have a wonderful social life, right? And you still get your full-time paid job. Man, could you imagine how less sick or less ill, I'll say, these people probably feel on the whole compared to the person who's working 8-hour minimum, then 10 hours, then 12 hours, then comes home to a family that didn't get to see them, or all the bullshit that we go through on our end because we're in a consumerism economy and it's all about work for the dollar so we can take it back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that kind of makes me wonder a bit about UBI, which is like universal basic income. Like, if everyone could actually afford food and shelter and they didn't have to work for that, and they could focus on, I mean, I'm an artist, so of course I'm like, hey, if I didn't have to go to a 9 to 5 and I could spend all my time maybe learning something new, like, oh, I'm writing a book now, or I'm making a new app, or like working on the video game, or learning how to cook different dishes or fly, whatever, like, or I could somehow give back to society if I didn't have to spend all this time. Maybe, no, I happen to love my job now, but like there's plenty of people who are just working at a place just to make ends meet. And if you could take that away and give those people money, like, would that help society more, right?
Right.
Would it be a much happier society? And that's a really good question, I think.
I definitely have a stance on this.
Good. Let me get you Brandon Cam.
So universal basic income, right?
Yeah.
The motivated are going to be more motivated, but the lazy are going to get more lazy.
Yeah.
That's just the way it works.
I can see that. I would vouch for that.
Yeah, and I equate it to pretty much the minimum wage thing. I had an interesting conversation earlier. I never really put it that much thought, but it made a lot of sense. The person I was talking to saying that the way that we keep raising minimum wage for these jobs that were never meant to be jobs to be a livable wage, it was more as a stepping stone for a skill-based job. What we're doing is we're taking the skill-based jobs and devaluing it, right? Because it's not raising all the paychecks, right? Right now, minimum wage over at In-N-Out or at a burger
In-N-Out
joint
is higher than minimum wage.
Yes, it is higher than minimum wage.
But you're saying In-N-Out's minimum wage.
Right.
Okay.
In-N-Out minimum wage or any minimum wage that is slowly approaching $15 an hour, right? Look, Tav has some thoughts, but we'll have your thoughts after this. Yeah, but like, remember entry-level artists now and then $20, which is $40K a year, was a skill-based job that has not moved for us, right? It's still $20 an hour to kind of get a job in the game industry and in most places. But now we're like, fucking In-N-Out is getting $18 an hour, $2 less than me? What the fuck? But that's like, it's got to be crippling long-term effect, right? And I think universal basic income could be having that kind of experiment.
Well, what's interesting to me is like, actually, no, go ahead, Tav.
Tav can.
Oh no, I mean, I just wanted to chime in there and say, well, costs are also going up with those wages. So
right.
They're kind of just flat, really.
Right.
Like, especially in the Bay Area where it like costs so much to actually live there.
$20 an hour may as well be zero.
Larry can. What Larry thoughts?
So the way that I look at it, all right, cool, is I actually appreciated, and I don't want anybody to flame me over this. I'm going to offer my genuine opinion and my genuine thought. Right. I know that there will be discourse. People will like or people will don't.
Bring it.
But it's not because I'm a bad person. I don't believe. But I saw like entry level, like let's call it burger flipper type jobs. I think there is a sector of society that it was beneficial for. For example, people who are just now entering the workplace, as in like a high school teen who has just turned 16. Hopefully has a house, hopefully has sustainability through parental structure that's already provided, and they're getting their first taste of a job experience.
Yes.
I think that that's still beautiful. They're not getting an irresponsible amount of money. Like, sweet, $900, I'm going to go blow this shit on Xbox right away. Versus like, hey, if I want that Xbox, I'm going to have to save 2-3 paychecks.
Right.
There's a lot of skills that I think like, and character building that happens there. But I didn't see those jobs as like, if I had myself and my family, I need this to be my $40,000 a year, $50,000 a year job. I wouldn't have gone to In-N-Out looking for that opportunity. I would have tried to done something like an automotive technician. Any other
skill based,
like something a little more skill based, a little more in depth. Because I feel like I'm not part of that society where I don't want to take a job that was perfect, who would be happy and appreciative to work at McDonald's, as a 16-year-old who just wants to save up to get like a cool thing and is learning basic fundamental
to get
financial
into the
responsibilities.
Workplace.
I wouldn't want to have to stretch a burger flip job for that. That's just my standpoint personally.
Yeah, no, I agree with those. I do think to what Brandon was saying earlier was you said, the lazy will be lazy, and the people who are kind of used to being kind of self-starters will shine as well. But I do kind of wonder if you even just added a little bit more people that were self-starters and kind of gave them an opportunity, if society as a whole would be a little bit better, regardless of how many more lazy, if there's kind of an even amount of standout people more, and then lazy people, would that still lift society into a better place if you have more people who are doing kind of world
I'll
changing?
answer.
Okay, all right. Hold
Tav,
on.
how dare you challenge me on my show? So there's a layer. It's on layer cam right now. So
sweet.
let's
Here
go
we
to
go. There you
the
go.
Brandon cam. So my thinking on that is that I think the gap is just going to get bigger. I think people shine when there's struggle, and the people who are used to struggle will and found success through that in every small way. Let's say, yes, this will enable more time for Tav to do more Tav shit, right? It's going to make you better, and those groups of people will excel in that way. But that's only because you've dealt with time management and you wanted to always do the things you do. So this is allowing you more time. So yeah, we will see that graph go up. But the people who have the luxury of time and money and not have to worry about that, they're going to still be more demotivated to even, because if no one sits around like a fat king and decides to finally like, I need to have some stress in my life, right? It's only those people who are at the bottom who knows the hard work that pays off, that continues to, even facing those type of issues, stand up and want to do more, that will excel in this type of universal basic income. Like
So,
that's
one thing that I would
right now.
appreciate in that scenario is, let's assume, like as Tav is starting to point out, we have an even of both, right?
Yeah.
If you start giving the self-started, motivated, quality employees more money, I think that I would see that being a thing that helps their success.
Yeah.
And doubly so, you have lazy people who are just doing bare minimum skate by effort in jobs are going to start leaving the workforce, creating
altogether.
opportunities for replacement people or just way better experiences for consumers, right? Like, you ever go to a place where the person, you just know they didn't want to be there, but they're there because that's the way that they make money, and you really feel like shit when you have to deal with them, and you're like, where's the manager? I'm writing a letter. I'm like, a lot of those experiences start to die out because you have people who like actually value their opportunities because they could do nothing and just get money. So they're there because they care about a career, they care about a growth. So I guess one of the byproducts of that system I could look forward to is there's a higher percentage of quality people who care about what they do and are excited to do what they do and are looking for opportunities, because more of the people who are just there because they have to make money and have to pay bills and literally treat it that way, hey, you solved their problem of money, or at least helped solve some of their problem of money. I'm hoping that you would see less. And I'll just go ahead and say, I hope we see less of those people.
Bro, I gotta say, man, the credit card company has proven people go in more debt when they have more to play with, right? So I really don't think it's a nice idea if it comes with like a application process of who qualifies for universal basic. I think that will solve a lot of these issues. But throwing $1,000 out the window, I think the only thing it will bring up is the tax income for the country, because people will spend more, right? Through these corporations, and they get taxed, and a lot of that money will go back to the United States. So, I mean, overall, I don't think we'll lose anything. We'll actually gain all the money back. But it's a people problem, man. Materialistic things don't solve people problems. It's like, are you motivated or not? And if you wanted to always start that thing that you talk about and have the commitment to see it through, you would have done it already. $1,000 is not keeping you away from that. Yeah.
We should follow up with Colorado.
Yeah, we gotta follow up.
Tav, go ahead.
Go Tav. Tav can.
No, I just think that that's sometimes there's a barrier to people doing what they want, and I'm thinking about the people who I grew up in Nigeria for 13 years, and I think about people who just don't have enough money to eat, so therefore they spend their whole life just working to make money to eat, and that's their whole existence, is just trying to survive and not really having the luxury to create. So in some way, I would like to see those people helped
have a chance
more, so or have a chance if they want to be creative, not just someone who has spent their whole life just being like, oh man, I just need to eat, or I need to find a place to live, right? Because I don't really feel like just that is a great existence, but it's just my thoughts on it. And
that's true.
I think there's so many different types of people that, I could totally see there being some kind of, or needing to be some kind of application process or you don't just
Contest,
give out
bro.
a
Yeah.
bunch of money to everyone.
Yeah, because through the 99% will be crap, man. The 1% will rise. I don't know how they're gonna work it out. It is a nice idea. It'd be nice because us three will be fine. We're gonna use that towards something beneficial, right? But I just don't see how everybody's gonna think like that because we know through our own network alone, there's just lazy people are just lazy, man.
I would imagine they depend on that anyway. Like smart people will invest the money or make more money or do X, Y, and Z. People who aren't, it'll flow through their hands just as fast as all the other money. The right people will use the right tools. I guess I'll end it with that.
I guess it's more of a question of are you okay with the amount of people that are gonna throw it away to the percentage of people
they'll be
who
buying
actually
my
keep
product.
it? Yeah.
Hey, Larry Charles is new. Whatever.
Pretty much.
You got that
maybe that would be the
$1,000 that you're
solution.
getting
It's
for
like who
free?
cares?
Like those $5 footlongs we've done on Twitch.
Yeah. Maybe the benefit is so outweigh the cons. It doesn't matter. It might be one of those situations.
Anyway. Tav, man, from the bottom of my heart, I wish you the best in all your endeavors. And I love seeing your successes and your travel blogs. So I hope that both of them are fruitful through the next chapters of your life and your passport. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing your story with the audience, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. And I always love talking to you guys and love whatever project you guys are working on. I know it's gonna be great and people are gonna enjoy it and I enjoy it. So thanks a lot.
Hey man, you're in good company as the 5th episode now? So a very select group.
6th episode.
This is very select.
I gotta check back to our other podcast, but I think you were the 6th episode for the last one too.
Oh damn.
There's something synergistic. About
the
this.
Tav episode of whatever project. We reached number 6.
The episode where Larry and I figured we got to pick up ourselves and do better. Tav is what country is Tav now?
Yeah.
All right.
Tav is quite a benchmark, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm even more happy that he's a friend of ours. So we wish you the best, man.
Thank you.
One thing we do, real quick. Actually, I can do this after we end the episode.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's end it with your tagline, and Tav, just stay on before we end the podcast.
So yeah, guys, Invisible Wall is a podcast all about breakthrough. We just want to help you grow. We want to help you prosper. We want to help you see how big the world actually is by getting outside of the world that you think it is. I think that's pretty profound. I hope it is, at least. Go see new places. Go do new shit. Go look at cool stuff. Kiss a girl. Kiss a guy. Doesn't matter what sex you are. Go live your life.
Go to the Larry cam real quick. I lost my mouse.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up. Tav, love your haircut, by the way. It's in season. Yeah. We are. All right, man. I wish you the best, bro.
Oh, thank you.
All right, we'll catch you next time.
All right.
So, don't leave. Brandon's gonna end the episode, and then we're gonna do this cool.